I will start. Yeah, as Eva mentioned, I'll be talking more about performance marketing. Like small disclaimer first, I don't have such like animations with like some green guys, etc. But also I will be like talking a lot about performance. But if someone working already with applications, maybe it's not be like eye-opening for you. But I will like do work of the small recap, but for those who's thinking about applications or maybe want to know more about it, it should be like pretty interesting session, I guess. And my name is Liliana. I'm the head of performance in Tribe 47. So I'm working with Eva, who you already met. I'm working with Ola, who was registering you on the very beginning. And I actually working a lot with different types of clients. Mainly e-commerce, and I'm super excited because I really like applications, so it's a topic I like to talk about a lot. So yeah. And moving on, I wanted like to say about the web and app, and there is like a big difference about them, which is the strategy and the main purpose of them. And if to come to the web e-commerces, web-based e-commerces, the main like difference about it that you can do whatever like you can, like brand awareness, etc. But the main like focus here will be to sell a final product. So either it's a bag or either it's, I don't know, the package of goods. You will be doing everything so to sell this product. But in case of application, you actually will be trying to the cold audience, so meaning to the new people. First thing first, sell the need for the application and only then work with the people inside the app. So there is like this differentiation was already like mentioned, the installation which comes to the place. And if to count to these two things, I tried to list different elements here, which are the main differentiators between application and web. And you have like landing page, which is different. You have tracking, where you have pixel and SDK. You have different analysis, so meaning like you have product analysis, marketing analysis, which differs, organic acquisition, which slightly different. You have similar like paid acquisition channels, but you have some on top, which I'll be talking later on about, and the first-party data. And I will try to deep dive into a few of these things, so just to explain you more, and so we will understand like more what's going on around it. And just like also starting from this point, I will be talking more about like web and comparing it to app. But later on the end, we will go to web plus app because this type of businesses are super important, I guess. So the first thing which was listed here, and I think it's the most important one, it's the landing page. And in case of app requires this installation. So while websites are readily accessible, yeah, they are through servers, and when you have an internet connection, you can easily just like open your browser and check the page. But in case of application, you actually need to download it. And there is like different things you do so to push the traffic to your application. You can do paid acquisition, it can be influencers, it can be some public relation, I don't know. Also, you'll be having organic searches of your application. And in this stage for application versus the web, your landing page is actually the product page in your Apple Store or Google Play. And if to divide this all traffic here, you will have user acquisition, which in our like world may be a paid acquisition, and you will have ASO, which something that marketers usually tend to forget about, because yeah, we're pushing a lot of traffic, we're trying to gain those people through some, I don't know, Meta, Google ads, etc. But we're not thinking that this page actually is pretty important, because if you have web, you like doing some A/B tests, you're trying to change the view of the web page. One day, like you doing one lead generation, another trying to change the elements. But in case of product page, like people making it and forgetting about it. And I think it's really important to try to work with it, because when you have a landing page, you do optimization, and you do A/B testing. And in case of application, it's also super important, and you don't need to forget about it. And in case of optimization here, I mean ASO, which in the world of app is similar as SEO in case of web. So when you have the web, you're trying to make your page much easier foundable in Google searches. In case of app, you're trying to make it more beautiful and also much easier foundable or in Apple Store and Google Play. And here I try to show you 2 examples. You may like take a phone or pop up and check which applications you have in Apple Store or Google Store, but if you see this, like which elements like you looking at first, like what catches your attention? of the slide or generally there? Yeah.
Like colorful and attention in this case. Because on the right, it's only red logo, which is more or less offensive.
Yeah, yeah. But if you like scrolling through the Apple like store, what elements you looking at? Like if you would like to download it, which elements you will be looking at first?
Price.
If there is any. Yeah. Anything else? Sorry? Yeah, yeah. Also true. So yeah, there is like a lot of elements you can be working with. And they can be like divided. I put them there, but you can divide them. And for example, you can test the screenshots here, the preview, which is like on the first screen you have a video, so you can actually show the functionalities of the application. You can make it beautiful. You can test that background, that big screen on the app. You can test the icon, maybe changing it somehow, but you can also like testing the text. And here also important, you should be like in case of ASO trying to give as many keywords as possible in terms of like the name of the application, also the text inside the promotional text. For this, I would suggest maybe AppRadar. That's an application which helps you to find these keywords. AppTweak, I think, as well. Yeah, these two are pretty often used. And you also can and should be checking your ratings and your reviews because it's something people actually looking at. So this is the elements you always should be testing and working with because that's your actual landing page. And when you have a landing page as well, you will be having different KPIs because these 2 things look completely different, right? And when it comes to the KPIs, in terms of web, you will be checking like page view, some bounce rate, some average time on page or conversion rate. But in terms of app, you suddenly have like completely different things. You have install rate, you have retention rate, you have churn rate. And you also have like some magic numbers like DAO, MAU, FTB, which is DAO is like daily active users, MAU it's monthly active users, and FTB is first-time buyers. And when the first 3 more checked from the product page side, DAO, MAU, and FTB is something you already have in application, but it's still like really important metrics. You should be checking daily, weekly, monthly, all the time because it actually shows like how your application used and maybe in the past you can like check which elements you should change. So landing page is important. It's your main thing you're working with, but you also have a traffic which you should like push push and use when you having this application. And here comes the funnel. And in terms of application, the funnel is slightly different because app acquisition typically takes place at the first early stages of the funnel, while for website, conversion tends to occur toward the end of the funnel. And it's because of this installation we have. When we will look like on the funnel in this small like explanation, you will be having awareness, the similar, but in terms of web, this acquisition, like you trying to catch those people gradually. So you trying to maintain them, you show them different things, you may be pushing the lead generations, and only then you will have a purchase and retention. In terms of application, usually the marketing strategy is really aggressive, and it means that you're trying to catch this installation as fast as possible, and then you working with retention along the way. And retention is extremely important in case of application, because I think Eva mentioned it before, that churn rate in applications is really huge, and people usually like trying to install a lot of apps, like those 18 apps coming from somewhere, but at the end they're using only 9, so they forgetting about them, and usually like 70 or even 80% of people like dropping out in 3 days. So this is like the really important moment to catch them and to maintain them in these 3 days. And here, like the funnel, I will not be going super deep into it because it's super detailed, but it's just to show not the typical funnel, but really typical in e-commerces for a website, where you have like some cold audiences used in paid or organic, pushed to the pre-sale content page, where people actually can leave their email and get the email from us. So they're getting into the database, we're sending them welcome sequence with the emails, they seeing the, I don't know, minus 30% for some product, they going to our page, they actually may buy it if we will be lucky, and then we have this person right in our base. But for application, it will be looking slightly different, because you don't show them any like engagement page where they can leave their email, so you're working with the product page. So you get this person to the product page, then this person may install or may not if you don't have a good SEO, and we will get this person to our base, and in this case we will be actually working with push notifications, and push notifications is really important things for the retention and also for the ratings and etc. Because it's something that reminds people that actually they have this application. So this path looks slightly different, and it takes more time from there, but here it's pretty quick and pretty easy. I mean, it looks easy, but in marketing world, it's not an easy funnels. So the most important thing is paid media mixes, and just the paid media, which helps us with the traffic itself. I'll not like be explaining you everything, but I wanted to show you like the typical placements used in web e-commerces. They are the same in e-commerces, but the difference will be the types of campaigns we have there. So in Google, we, for instance, have some app install campaigns which called UADs, Universal App Campaigns, which can be optimized for installation, but they can also be optimized for some events. But also really interesting type of campaign, a pre-registration campaign, because if you still have an MVP and you haven't pushed it to the people, you can use such pre-registration campaign for Android and already gain those people. So it's pretty interesting campaign, never use it, but it sounds like pretty interesting. On Meta and on TikTok, you have app installations campaign and app events campaigns, and also here additional platform I was mentioning before. This is the search ads, which is like only for Apple, but Apple at some point introduced their own engine like for marketing. So this search ads, which is quite interesting and helpful in case of Apple, definitely. And here I wanted to show you some like average CPE for e-commerce. It looks high, because if to compare it with the numbers which are shown on the internet for average CPI for different types of countries, they usually look lower, but that's for games. And e-commerce is completely different. So here, person actually needs to understand that they need it. And if to be short, and if to not super deep dive into it, in case like here, usually Android is slightly cheaper, not slightly, but usually more cheaper, because for iOS we have different things, which I will show you later on. But if to like just to compare it, Google Ads will be super good for Android, which is like also interesting because Android is a part of Google. So it's usually pretty cheap, 3 times cheaper or even more. In case of Meta, it will be similar, but actually lately iOS looks cheaper versus Android. In case of TikTok, it's also similar, but if you work with creatives, you can do even less. Like if you can spend more, but you will have lower CPIs for sure. And in search ads, it depends. Here I put like quite high numbers. I saw some accounts which had like 10 PLN per CPE, but it really depends. Like, do you have time to deep dive into the keywords? Though it's interesting placement.
Sorry.
Yeah.
These costs are for Polish market?
Yeah, for Polish market, yeah. And for e-commerces, so it's also really depends, yeah. Only Polish. But actually, like if to compare them, I checked different markets, and the lowest numbers will be in LATAM, which is interesting. But the highest cost, of course, in US. It's usually around 20-30 PLN. So maybe similar to this, but it's like averages for both application, like e-commerce applications, but also games. So yeah. So I mentioned that like iOS is really often like having higher costs, and it usually comes with this interesting thing, which somewhere you will read SCAD network, somewhere StoreKit ad network, somewhere SKN. And what the hell is that? Good question. SKN is something that Apple introduced in 2018. And it was like their solution for marketers, so to actually check their and gain their marketing for iOS. So it's privacy-focused framework that provides like privacy-preserving method for advertisers to understand the effectiveness of their ads. And it's interesting that it's nice, it's privacy-focused framework. Privacy first, we live in this world, but there is like a lot of things which coming with that. A lot of pain points from this perspective. First of all, it's like the aggregated data, so you don't see a lot of things which help the marketers to retarget their people. There are like huge post-back delays. Usually this attribution window and post-back delays, meaning that we see the data coming around 24, 48 hours minimum, but sometimes longer. So it means that you cannot like make changes in your campaign and optimize your campaign like on a daily basis. So it's pretty bad in terms of marketing. You also don't have view-through attribution. Mainly that works with click-through attribution. Meta, for example, shows view-through attribution, but it's really, you need to find it somewhere and you need to click on different things, so it changes situation slightly. And the fraud itself, because it's much harder to understand, like, is it really, like, you don't see the you have aggregated data, so you're actually not really sure if the person coming actually from Poland or maybe from India. So it also not helps the marketer for sure. And going deep into these few platforms, I just wanted to tell you about few important things and not deep dive into campaigns, but maybe this will be important if you're setting up campaigns here. So in case of Meta, and in case of all the platforms, you should be remembering that you should divide those campaigns. So in web, you have one campaign which goes to everybody, but in terms of application, you will have campaign for iOS and you will have campaign for Android. So you always will be dividing all your activities for two. For iOS, you will have those limitations which are connected to the SKN. So in terms of Meta, you only can set up 9 campaigns, having 5 ad sets inside. And so if you will have a next campaign, you should actually turn on the previous campaign and wait 24 hours so the system will get it and will turn your new campaign here. You should also target, and don't forget about the operational systems. So if your application is available only on Marshmallow or on iOS, for example, 14 plus and higher, you should also target only those who have in these applications. And you also can test custom product pages and store listings, which people also tend to forget. On Google, you have this universal app campaign. An important thing here that it's like automated campaign. So there is not as much you can change around it. And it's bad because sometimes we want to influence some specific people and talk, so only 1845 or something. We cannot actually do this in terms of this campaign. But one hack and one thing, you at least can try a video only campaign if you will contact the Google representative and they can help you with that. So then this universal app campaign will be shown only on YouTube and on GDN. And this is campaign which is really similar to PMAX if someone works with Google. So yeah, automation becoming more and more adopted by these platforms. With the retention campaigns, it's really huge problem, I think, because if you want to set up the retention campaign in Google, you should have 250K installation per system, which is a lot, in my humble opinion. But before that, you can try to have the campaign which is optimized for installation and for app event. The installation will cost you slightly higher, so maybe 20% more, but you will at least be getting this in-app events. And in Google, you should remember about the excellence score, meaning that you should feed this campaign with as many different things as possible, so statics, videos, texts, HTML, faith, depends. For e-commerce, I wouldn't add it actually, but it's something that system allows you to add. In TikTok, I think TikTok is slightly similar to Facebook / Meta settings. Similarly, you will have these limitations on iOS, but here you will have a little bit more possibilities. You will have 11 active campaigns and 2 ad groups per campaign. Also a really interesting campaign will be TikTok Smart. We tested it and it works really good for us, so we lowered CPE around 70-20%, which is good sign for us. Here you should remember about excluding current users when you target the new users. In Meta and Google, they usually don't say that you need to do this. In case of TikTok, it's something that should be done, but it's what's most important, but I think in the web as well, that you should create separate content. And if you don't have the separate content, maybe organic content also can be tested. It works really, really nicely, and organic content usually drives much more impressions and lower CPIs. And on other channels, you should consider those additional placements like Apple Search. Up next was more for games, but still programmatic, which is really usually adopted by the web e-commerces right now, is less effective here. And actually, as I know, they try to delete this possibility of optimizing for app installation, though you can use it for awareness campaigns because awareness stage is still super important. And Google search as well is less valuable, but should be in the media mix because some people can actually try to find your application in Google search. So yeah, I hope you're not sleeping here because this is quite a long one. And with an analysis, I will not be diving it deep into it because Piotrek will be telling more you about these different things, but I wanted to just highlight one thing which I think is really important in terms of analysis, which is MMP, so mobile measurement partners. I think it's a really important thing in terms of marketing and should be considered, because the MMP is the third-party server that specializes in tracking and measuring of your mobile app installations activities. And it has a lot of pluses, meaning process of it, it's accurate attribution. You will have a deep link here, you will have advanced analytics, so you can have like different things also pushed to the reporting, and usually they have really beautiful dashboards, so you can use them there. You have multi-channel tracking, so you can actually understand where you people coming from. You can, or should not, like, it's usually paid, so you can have a fraud prevention. But what's the most important and why I say about it is like integration with ads platforms, which I showed you before, so Meta, Google, etc. It's really nice thing so to help you integrate with them, because usually when you want to push your check your installations and just push app installation campaigns in these different platforms, you need to install the SDK. And when you do this with ad platforms, you need to install the Meta SDK, you need to install the TikTok SDK, etc., etc. So each platform actually needs to have separate SDK. In terms of MMP, you installing this one SDK from them and then just like connecting through this SDK different platforms. I mean, it depends, because if you can do both ways. Maybe the ad platform one is more stable, it's more like the long connection and long relationship. With MMP, if at some point you would like to change the MMP, then you have a huge problem because you will lose the connection with everything. But usually people don't do this. And here, it's just like you can take a picture, or because I will not be explaining everything, but if you will at some point decide that you want to go with one MMP, I tried to list different differences between the most popular ones. There is more of them, but most usually adopted is AppsFlyer and Adjust. And they have like some differences, like the monthly subscriptions or the setup. So it's something that should be considered when you deciding to go with one of them. And yeah, at the end, I was talking about web and app intentionally, actually, because they have like similarities, but they are different. But when we're talking about web plus app, this is super like not easy type of business. And if we will be sitting here and talking only about web plus app in terms of performance, we will spend like a few hours not discussing, on the discussion and brainstorming, I think. And in terms of web plus app, I wanted like to give you just like few different scenarios if you have web plus app, and how you can go with paid marketing at that stage, depending like from your budgets, from your possibilities, etc. But there are like 4 scenarios I listed. So the first, when you have both web and app, you can go with the flow that all traffic, main marketing focus will be on website acquisition for both cold and warm, but your application will be promoted only to your current users, which is like solution, and some applications do this. So you usually like promote only web, and you have the app only to those who already know something about you or use your product. The second scenario is your budget is split actually, and you optimize traffic from website to purchase. You optimize, of course, app traffic for installation. But for instance, web traffic, of course, goes to web. But in terms of mobile traffic, you have both web and app. So you push both of them. You have third scenario where budget is also splitted, but here is much interesting thing, and I think it's like really interesting case for different businesses, because web traffic is pushed for the website, but with the mobile traffic you push everything to the app. So you don't actually promote your website in terms of mobile traffic. And fifth scenario is when you use app just as an organic source. So it exists, but you don't promote it anyhow, maybe organically, but not with the paid media. For which businesses is maybe good, for which businesses is not, it depends. But I put like my thoughts, it's my humble opinion, so we can elaborate on that. But with the first scenario where you usually promote your web and application goes only to your customers, it can be, for example, MatchFit, because like in this case, people should know something about your business. And for example, XCOM, because it's like more, it's really popular Polish website where you can buy, I don't know, a computer or something. So it's like not buying the apple from the grocery store. So it's a little bit different. With budget is split between web and app. I put Dalio or Olix. I think it's a good scenario for these types of businesses. The mobile traffic sent to application while website straight to the web. I put an Airbnb because it's not like e-commerce, but it's still a good example. Because UX in this type of thing is like much better. So for them pushing the mobile traffic fully to the application, it's much better scenario. And the last one is app is not promoted. I put Zara. They don't do such things, but people usually buy it on web pages, but application exists, they just don't promote it. I think the last scenario is not an ideal. Like if you already like made this application and we saw that it's much costlier and it takes more time to do, then not to use it, it's just like not the good idea for you. I mean, you spend the money for what? But of course, for some businesses, it might be a good idea. So yeah, this is the differences, like which one to choose in paid marketing. It depends from you, from your like possibilities, etc. Usually you should like understand where your business stands, what is your resources, how many money you have, and then decide by your own, or maybe go to some, I don't know, digital agency or some consultants and discuss with them what is better. Though there's like a lot of possibilities, and when to talk about web plus app, there is no one good solution or bad solution. All of them are really good. In terms of like just promoting app, it's more understandable still, a lot of like possibilities to test with ASO and with paid media as well. So I think it's interesting thing in terms of paid for sure. So thank you. I think I don't have time for Q&A, I'm sorry. But if you would like to discuss something and have questions from the paid side, I'll be there later on and we can chat and discuss it.